I am the most inconsequential son of the Jiang family. While my brother, Jiang Qiming, was securing the lucrative chip business in Europe, valued at billions, I found myself in the attic studio, toying with my overlooked spices and essential oils. At my father's birthday banquet, my brother, as the heir apparent of the conglomerate, stood beside our father, basking in the fervent adulation of the crowd. Under the glaring spotlight, he radiated like a resplendent sun. In stark contrast, I was but a shadow in the corner, an inconsequential figure unworthy of even a mention by the guests. A well-groomed man with an ostentatious demeanor raised his champagne flute to me with a veneer of insincerity, his face adorned with a perfectly calibrated curiosity. And who might this gentleman be? Before I could utter a word, Mrs. Jiang, standing nearby, discreetly concealed her mouth with a fan and interjected to rescue me. He must be a distant relative of Chairman Jiang, here to broaden his horizons. Her voice was neither too loud nor too soft, laced with a condescending sense of superiority. I had become the punchline of a farcical narrative that had persisted for 2 decades within the Jiang family. 1. My mother, once a top socialite of Hong Kong Island, married my father, the business magnate Jiang Chengjiang. Their formidable union resulted in the birth of my brother, Jiang Qiming. The name Qiming was bestowed by my grandfather, signifying the dawn of brilliance, hope, and the prelude to greatness. He has indeed lived up to the expectations. By the age of 3, he could fluently recite classical Chinese texts. At 7, he won gold in an international mathematics competition. At 15, he entered the Wharton School. And by 22, upon returning to the country, his first investment yielded 9 figures in profit for the conglomerate. He is the epitome of a flawless heir. Therefore, when my mother unexpectedly became pregnant with me, everyone deemed it merely a delightful embellishment. With Qiming's exceptional qualities, the next child was surely destined to be another prodigy. However, I disappointed them all. I lacked my brother's photographic memory and his decisive business acumen. I am indifferent to numbers, allergic to social gatherings, and utterly disdainful of any occasion that necessitates donning a facade of false smiles. My name is Jiang Jin, Qiming Jin. Even our names seem to be a meticulously crafted irony. One heralds the arrival of light, while the other signifies the embers of extinguished flames. My parents are respectable individuals. They pride themselves on being enlightened parents, never admitting to favoritism. Yet, actions speak louder than words. Whenever we venture out as a family, my father's right hand is perpetually reserved for my mother, while his left rests proudly on my brother's shoulder, brimming with expectation and pride. I can only trail behind them, resembling a superfluous shadow. My brother's 25th birthday celebration also marked the occasion of his official designation as the sole heir of the conglomerate. My father, inebriated, embraced a business associate, pointing at the dazzling Jiang Qiming beneath the lights, his face alight with pride. This is my son, my life's most treasured achievement. A friend complimented, Mr. Jiang is fortunate. But don't you have another son? My father's smile dimmed slightly as he waved his hand dismissively, his expression tinged with a barely perceptible regret and lingering vexation. Let us not mention it. I wish we had only had Qiming. An uncomfortable silence enveloped the room. Standing amidst the crowd, I felt as though I had been stripped bare and cast into the snow. Later, my father, perhaps sobering up, recognized his faux pas and, in an unusual gesture, summoned me to his study. Ah, Jean, don't take it to heart. Your father was merely inebriated. He handed me a black card devoid of a credit limit. His intent was clear. Qiming has become self-sufficient, which brings me solace. However, you still require our concern. The burdens on your father remain heavy. You see, the apologies of the affluent come laced with an air of condescension. I lowered my gaze and accepted the cold card. I understand, father. It was not intentional. It was merely the first time I had articulated the suppressed truths of 2 decades. 2. When I turned 18, my brother brought his fiancée, Shun Wanqing, home. The Shun family is a true aristocracy within the capital, and Shun Wanqing is the most illustrious figure of her generation. Their union with Jiang Qiming has been heralded as a match of kings and queens. That day, due to a severe allergic reaction, I sequestered myself in my room, having informed the butler of my absence in advance. Thus, when Shun Wanqing was led by my brother to tour the estate and open the door to my room, everyone was taken aback. My brother frowned, his tone tinged with impatience. Jiang Jin, why are you at home? Clearly, no one had informed me of such distinguished guests. No one remembered that I, too, resided in this house. Shun Wanqing stood at the threshold, her gaze traversing past my brother to settle upon me. Clad in a tastefully tailored beige gown, she exuded an air of refined elegance, her demeanor cool yet her eyes warm. She displayed no hint of surprise, merely nodding slightly. "Hello, I am Shun Wanqing." Embarrassed, I sat up from my bed, clad in a worn, pilled nightgown, my face flushed from the allergy. Beside her, my brother, donned in a bespoke suit, exuded charisma and brilliance. I felt a desperate urge to vanish into the floorboards. "This is my younger brother, Jiang." My brother's introduction was succinct, even laced with a hint of reluctance, as if introducing an unremarkable accessory. "He isn't well, spends his days at home, and I didn't want to disturb you by bringing him down." My mother immediately interjected with a smile. Jiang and Wanqing share a fateful connection. It's serendipitous that they should meet. My feeble protest of feeling unwell was effectively silenced. I had no choice but to endure, seated beside the impeccably poised Jiang Qiming, my face betraying my discomfort. Even without a mirror, I was painfully aware of the stark contrast. Seizing a moment when Shun Wanqing stepped away to take a call, I whispered to my mother, "Mom, my allergy is quite severe. I'm having trouble breathing. Could we possibly have the family doctor come?" My mother shot me a glare, lowering her voice. "Don't cause a scene now that your future sister-in-law is here for the first time. Can't you understand the gravity of the occasion?" I bit my lip. "Then may I return to my room to rest? What kind of behavior is that? Do you wish for the Shin family to think we lack decorum?" That meal felt like an ordeal. Shun Wanqing was truly a woman of distinction. Her upbringing was evident in her every gesture. Even as the conversation revolved around business and finance, she always managed to divert some of her attention towards me. "Mr. Jiang is quite unique," she suddenly remarked. "There's a distinctive fragrance about him." 3. The entire table fell silent. My brother chuckled, his tone tinged with disdain. "Jiang simply enjoys these trivial pursuits. Those jars and vials give me a headache." My father nodded in agreement. A young man should focus on more practical skills, such as finance or management. That was the first time I found the courage to defend myself in front of my family. "It's not an ordinary fragrance," I murmured. "It's a scent I crafted myself. The top notes are white pine resin, the heart notes are iris and lily of the valley, and the base notes are oak moss. I named it Grain Rain." A flicker of surprise crossed Shun Wanqing's eyes, quickly followed by genuine admiration. "Grain Rain. What a beautiful name, both refreshing and imbued with the lushness of greenery, reminiscent of the fragrance of a valley after rain. You possess a remarkable talent." For the first time in 20 years, someone acknowledged my seemingly trivial passion. In that moment, my heart felt as though a small stone had been cast into it, sending ripples of joy cascading forth. After the meal, as Shun Wanqing prepared to depart, my brother went to fetch the car. She approached me, presenting a delicate gift box. Everyone assumed it contained some expensive cufflinks or a luxurious watch. My brother glanced at it, a barely perceptible smirk gracing his lips. Once back in my room, I opened the box. Inside was not a luxury item, but an entire set of professional-grade perfumery tools along with several rare fragrance essences. Among them was the elusive May Rose from Grasse that I had long sought. Additionally, there was a card, handwritten by Shun Wanqing, her script elegant and strong, "To the future master perfumer." Clutching that card, my eyes welled with tears, threatening to spill over. My brother entered, catching sight of the tools, his expression a blend of incredulity and disdain. "Shun Wanqing truly has too much time on her hands, gifting you these childish trinkets." He picked up the bottle of May Rose essence, inhaling its scent before grimacing in disgust. I thought Shun Wanqing had discerning taste. It seems she too can be fooled by such inconsequential gimmicks. He tossed the bottle carelessly onto my desk. "Jiang, you ought to understand your place. Don't think that a single compliment from Shun Wanqing grants you entry into her circle. In both the Jiang family and the Shin family, not to mention the entirety of high society, your hobby is hardly worthy of being regarded as a joke." Silently, I retrieved the essence bottle and carefully placed it back in its box. A voice within me whispered, "At least she regards me more highly than your brother does." The gift from Shun Wanqing became the sole beacon of light in my otherwise dreary existence. I commenced a more systematic study of perfumery, immersing myself day and night in my studio. I crafted scents named after the 24 solar terms: summer solstice, white dew, and frost descent. This nomenclature was my solitary means of resisting the frigid aristocracy surrounding me. Gradually, my allergies subsided, and I found myself a tad more buoyant. I severed the heavy bangs I had kept to conceal my insecurities, revealing a smooth forehead. Though my features were far from the striking handsomeness of my brother, at the very least, I mustered the courage to smile at my reflection in the mirror. My mother is a matriarch in the fashion industry. Typically, when my brother changes his watch, she can accurately discern whether it is a Patek Philippe or a Vacheron Constantin, and she can even discuss the nuances of appropriate attire for various occasions. Yet, my new hairstyle went unnoticed for an entire week. Undeterred, during a family dinner, I took the initiative to ask, "Mother, do you notice anything different about me today?" She glanced up from her finance magazine, sweeping her gaze across my face before dismissively waving her hand as if swatting away a fly. "Your brother is having some troubles with his project in Europe. I'm quite preoccupied, so please don't distract me." In that moment, all desire to share my life with them vanished. From that day forth, I seemed to refrain from volunteering any information about myself. Even when I won the newcomer award at the international fragrance competition, if they didn't inquire, I would not divulge. Perhaps my silence finally brought them some relief. On my 20th birthday, my father bestowed upon me a sum of money along with a villa in the suburbs, complete with a garden. He euphemistically termed it a coming-of-age gift. Yet, I knew it was a proclamation of my complete and dignified exile from the family. When my mother spoke to me, her words were laced with subtlety.
Agine,
"You've grown up. It's time for you to have your own space. With so many family members coming and going, always discussing work, it can be quite disruptive. Moving out will provide you with peace. Your brother is about to get engaged to Xin Wanqing, and the house will undergo renovations, resulting in much chaos. Given your health, you must avoid further allergies." Each word was cloaked in concern, yet each was a reminder that I no longer had a place in this home. I remained silent for an extended period, calmly accepting the reality. On the day of the move, my brother was present, dressed sharply in a suit. Having just returned from the office with a briefcase in hand, he leaned against the doorframe, watching disdainfully as I directed workers in transporting my bottles and jars. "Well, moving out will spare the house from chaos," he remarked, then paused to kick one of my boxes filled with spices with the tip of his shoe. "Jiang, do you understand the difference between us?" He did not wait for my response, continuing on his own. "What I create has the potential to double the Jiang family's market value, while what you produce," he chuckled lightly, "is merely a fleeting, worthless scent. You should consider the family's decisions. We cannot afford to support an idle person of no use." I stood frozen, my fingers curling into fists. I understood the family, but who would understand me? Yet I did not voice my questions. I knew that no one in this family wished to listen, nor would they. This home, which I had inhabited for 20 years, had now completely erased my presence. I moved into the villa, surrounded daily by the fragrances of flowers and spices. I believed my life would settle into tranquility, until my brother's engagement banquet with Xin Wanqing arrived. I received an invitation, exquisitely crafted, with gilded lettering bearing the names Jiang Qiming and Xin Wanqing. My name was conspicuously absent. I was merely an ordinary guest. My mother deliberately called to remind me, "Jean, that day is your brother's special occasion. Dress appropriately. Don't be too ostentatious, nor too shabby. Just sit quietly and don't embarrass your brother." I understood her implication. My very existence was a source of embarrassment. The engagement banquet took place at the 7-star hotel owned by the Jiang family, reserving the entire sky garden. Lacking an elegant gown, my brother possessed an entire wardrobe of luxurious suits, but I did not wish to borrow one. Instead, I purchased a simple navy blue suit with the prize money I had earned from the competition. Upon arriving at the venue, the moment I laid eyes on my brother and Xin Wanqing, I could not help but feel a wave of inadequacy wash over me. Xin Wanqing donned a custom-made starry gown by a Lebanese designer, the hem adorned with thousands of sparkling diamonds that shimmered under the lights, resembling the galaxy descending upon the earthly realm. Her aura was ethereal, her expression composed and serene. Always in the shadow of my illustrious brother, I felt as insignificant as a speck of dust. Yet at that moment, the weight of my inferiority nearly engulfed me. I clenched my hands in my pocket, as if that could hold onto my dwindling dignity. Seeking refuge in a corner, I attempted to diminish my presence. However, Xin Wanqing still noticed me. She navigated through the crowd and approached me. "You look quite handsome today," she sincerely complimented. "Thank you," I replied awkwardly, offering a smile. "Congratulations to you and my brother." Her gaze lingered on me for a moment, as if she wished to say something, but ultimately it transformed into a soft sigh. As the banquet reached its zenith, my father and brother took to the stage to deliver speeches. My greatest pride in this life is having a son like Qiming. He is my only heir and the sole future helmsman of the Jiang family. The applause thundered from the audience. I watched my father, brimming with vitality, and my brother, radiating brilliance. There was no place for me beside them. In their envisioned future, I was absent. Standing numbly before the restroom mirror, I sorrowfully pondered whether it was a blessing or a curse for an ordinary boy to have an exceptionally outstanding brother. Suddenly, a wild thought surged forth, as if propelled by some unseen force. If I were to remain forever in the shadows, I would ensure that the shadows too could bloom in their unique hue. If they could only see my brother, then I would stand beside him in my own way. Taking a deep breath, I turned and walked back into the banquet hall. I strode directly toward the main table. All eyes were fixed on the stage, no one paying heed to my small interlude. Approaching Shen Wanqing's seat, I bent down and whispered in her ear, "Miss Shen, may I have a word? I have prepared an engagement gift for you and my brother that I wish to present privately." A flicker of surprise crossed her eyes, yet she politely nodded and followed me to a secluded corner of the terrace. I retrieved a simple black porcelain vial from my pocket, devoid of any labels. "This is the engagement gift I have concocted for you." As I uncorked the vial, an extraordinary, indescribable fragrance wafted into the air. Shen Wanqing, possessing a keen sense of scent, closed her eyes, discerning the notes carefully. "There's rose in this, but it's not an ordinary rose. And night-blooming jasmine and jasmine?" Her brow furrowed slightly, yet their scents were overpowered by a more potent, chilling aroma. "What is this?" I met her gaze, articulating each word deliberately. "It is mandrake." Shen Wanqing's expression shifted. I chuckled softly, my laughter laced with 2 decades of coldness and sorrow. I named it Accomplice. The top notes feature May roses from Grasse, Egyptian jasmine, and Indian night-blooming jasmine, the 3 finest, most exquisite floral scents in the world, symbolizing my brother, Jiang Qiming. He possesses everything. He is perfection. The heart notes comprise a generous amount of white musk and ambergris, creating a warm and enveloping skin-like texture, akin to an embrace. This symbolizes you, Miss Shen Wanqing. Your presence is the most magnificent crowning of his flawless life. Shen Wanqing's gaze deepened as she listened intently, not interrupting me. However, I shifted my tone, allowing my voice to grow colder. "Can you smell it? Beneath this exquisite romance and beauty lies a chilling, toxic scent, the essence of the nightshade. It symbolizes all that is concealed beneath perfection, all that is hidden from the light. For instance, an unexpected life, the cries that go unheeded, a nameless existence that can never claim its identity." I lifted my gaze to meet the quivering eyes of Shen Wanqing. "This fragrance is a gift for you. When you find yourselves immersed at the pinnacle of love and success, will you not occasionally catch a whiff of a lingering, resentful breath from the shadows? Congratulations, Miss Shen. You are about to marry into the glory of the Jiang family. From now on, you must learn to coexist with the shadows that lie behind that brilliance." Having said this, I pressed the small porcelain bottle into her icy hand, then turned and walked toward the exit without a second glance. I did not look back at Shen Wanqing's expression, nor did I glance at my impeccably polished parents and brother on the stage. From this day forth, I am no longer the awkward footnote in their perfect family. I am Jiang Jin, the vial of poison known as Accomplice, and the sole protagonist of my own life. As I stepped through the hotel doors, the evening breeze tousled my hair, and an unprecedented sense of liberation washed over me. I retrieved my phone and dialed the number of the International Perfume Competition Committee. "Hello. I have decided to accept your invitation to serve as a special judge for the upcoming competition." Yes, that award notification I had hidden away, deemed worthless by them, that hobby they scorned, would become my sharpest weapon against this world. The prologue belonging to Jiang Jin has only just begun this night. I blocked all the phone numbers from my family. Yet, I neglected to block my mother's personal assistant. At 3 in the morning, the assistant's call rang through like a death knell. I answered, and my mother's voice, stifled yet frantic, pierced through. "Jiang Jin, have you lost your mind? Do you even realize what good deeds you have done today?" I held the phone away from my ear, calmly enduring her piercing accusations. "Your brother's engagement banquet, the face of the Shen family, the face of the Jiang family, all of it has been tarnished by your actions alone. How could you dare to commit such an unpresentable act? To send such an inauspicious gift, to utter those ambiguous words. Do you think the Jiang family has treated you too well, that you've forgotten your true identity? I remained silent. My silence seemed to further enrage her. You will come back this instant. Apologize to the Shin family and your brother. Now, immediately. I will not return, I replied softly, my voice devoid of any tremor. What did you say? She likely thought she had misheard. I said, I will not return. I reiterated, since the day I moved out, I have not thought of going back. That home belongs to my brother, not to me. The other end fell into a heavy silence. After a long pause, my mother's voice came through, weary and cold. Jiang Jin, you will regret this. The call was abruptly terminated. Almost immediately, an unfamiliar number called in. It was my father. His voice was far calmer than my mother's, yet the icy pressure in it nearly pierced through the receiver. I will give you two choices. 1. Cancel all your chaotic social media accounts, go abroad for a few years, and do not meddle in family affairs. Once the storm has passed, I will arrange a marriage for you that guarantees you a life free from worry. 2. He paused, his tone laden with absolute control and an imperiousness that brooked no dissent. I will reclaim the villa and the card I provided you, cutting off all your financial resources. The Jiang family does not have a son like you. Go out into society and see if your hobbies can even earn you a meal. This was the final ultimatum, a familiar threat I had heard for 20 years. In the past, I would tremble in fear and obediently comply. But this time I laughed. Dad, I said, the truth is, I have always had but one choice. That is to become myself. With that, I hung up the phone and turned off the device. The world quieted. I lay on my bed, gazing at the ink-black sky outside, my heart racing fiercely within my chest, half from fear, half from an exhilarating sense of rebirth. Just before dawn, I powered my phone back on, and a text message appeared. It was from Shin Wanqing. I've received the perfume, but the name accomplice is rather unfortunate. I initially thought she might be confronting me on behalf of my brother. My finger hovered over the screen, uncertain of how to respond. Moments later, a second message arrived. It belongs solely to you, and should not be entangled with anyone else. It should be called monologue. In that moment, my eyes welled with warmth. Monologue. Yes, that was the grand yet sorrowful monologue I had long carried, unheard for 20 years. Shin Wanqing was the first and only person to truly understand. My father's actions were swifter and more ruthless than I had anticipated. The next day, my bank card was frozen, and the ownership of the villa was forcibly reclaimed under the pretext of an unfulfilled gift. I was escorted out by several bodyguards clad in black suits, allowed to take only a few changes of clothes and my precious perfume vials. I stood at the entrance of the villa that once belonged to me, feeling like a stray dog cast out into the streets. My father, high above me, was employing the most brutal and straightforward means to convey, without the Jiang family, you are nothing. With the few $100s I had left, I rented the cheapest apartment in the city. The room was small, too small to accommodate my precious essences and tools. Yet this tiny space, my own, brought me an unprecedented sense of peace. Soon after, I received an email from the International Perfume Competition Committee. They regretfully informed me that due to certain suggestions from their partners, they had to retract my invitation as a judge. Partners. It was obvious, even without thinking, that it was the work of the Jiang family. They aimed to sever all my paths, to force me into a corner, compelling me to return and beg for mercy. Sitting amidst the piles of boxes and inhaling the mingled scent of spices in the air, I felt the piercing chill of reality's cruelty for the first time. It seemed that without the title of Jiang family's second young master, I truly was nothing. I could not even secure an opportunity to prove myself without relying on others' approval. Just as despair began to engulf me, my phone rang. It was Shin Wanqing. Is it convenient to meet? I'm downstairs at your apartment. I was taken aback. How did she know I was here? I rushed to the window and saw a discreet black Bentley parked below. Shin Wanqing leaned against the car, and upon looking up, she caught my eye and gave a slight nod. We met at the cafe downstairs. I apologize, she stated directly. I overlooked the judge's matter. It is not your fault. I shook my head. It was my naivety. My father and his ilk were precisely those kinds of people who would not tolerate anything beyond their control. Shin Wanqing gazed at me, her eyes deep. So, do you plan to give up? I lifted my head to meet her gaze. In her eyes, I saw my own reflection, small, disheveled, yet resolute. No, I replied, the more they want me to give up, the more I cannot. She seemed to have anticipated my response. A faint smile gracing her lips. I know an independent perfumer in France. He has a channel for a private perfume salon, not affiliated with any commercial group. He is currently looking for a fragrance that represents Eastern Zen. Your Guyu, Bailu, and Shuangjiang are all quite poetic. Perhaps you could give it a try. She slid a business card toward me. His name is Jean-Pierre, and he has a bit of a peculiar temperament. He only looks at the work, not the background. I stared at the card, then back at her. Why do you want to help me? Shen Wanqing fell silent for a moment, lifting her coffee cup to take a sip. Perhaps, as she set down the cup and gazed out the window, she simply wished to know what a perfume named Monologue would smell like. Or perhaps, her voice was subdued, almost a whisper, as she expressed her hope that a future master perfumer would not falter. I gripped the business card tightly. This was my final opportunity. I confined myself within that cramped apartment, relentlessly studying Jean-Pierre's requirements day and night. Eastern Zen-like. This was an exceedingly abstract concept. I discarded countless proposals. The elements of incense, sandalwood, and oud felt too tangible, too superficial. I sought a deeper expression. Exhausting my last bit of money, I purchased a fine ink stick and a sheet of rice paper. Like a scholar of antiquity, I quietly ground the ink. The air gradually filled with the bittersweet scent of ink, mingled with the unique aroma of pine resin. At that moment, inspiration struck. What is Zen? It is the dry landscape, the art of leaving space, a stubborn vitality amid profound silence. It embodies restraint, character, an outer solitude paired with inner richness. I immediately set to work. Using the finest pine soot ink as the foundation, I complemented it with the crispness of cedar and the slight bitterness of patchouli, creating an atmosphere reminiscent of a cold, lofty scroll. To disrupt this tranquility, I introduced a hint of the elusive orris root, carrying the earthy scent of soil and a sense of roots, akin to life persistently taking hold in a barren snowy expanse. Finally, I added a minuscule amount of ambergris, leaving a barely perceptible warmth in the base notes, like a touch of vermilion between the brows of a high monk, embodying both compassion and the essence of Zen. I named it Zhuang, sitting forgetting. I sent the sample along with my concept via International Express to Jean-Pierre. Then began the long, agonizing wait. During that time, I managed to scrape by writing fragrance reviews for small beauty bloggers. One day, I stumbled upon an interview with my brother Jiang online. He graced the cover of the nation's premier financial magazine as the outstanding young entrepreneur of the year. The reporter asked him, Mr. Qiming, it is said that Jiang Group is preparing to enter the high-end fragrance market. Can you share some insights? My brother smiled at the camera, exuding elegance and confidence. Indeed, I believe that scent is a form of power. We have assembled an international top-tier perfumery team that will utilize cutting-edge AI technology and big data analysis to precisely tailor the most effective and popular success scent for our clients. Our flagship product will be named Crown. Its aroma embodies the essence of power and victory. As I gazed at my brother radiating brilliance on the screen, my heart swelled with mixed emotions. He always had this uncanny ability to quantify everything into commercial value and symbols of power. Even scent was not spared. Just then, my phone vibrated. It was an email from France. From Jean-Pierre.
The compte en voix simple, juste one sentence. Monsieur Jiang, bienvenue dans le monde de la haute parfumerie.
Mr. Jiang, welcome to the world of high perfumery. In that moment, I wept. Upon its launch at Jean-Pierre's private salon, my Zhuang caused a sensation in Europe's fragrance circle. Those accustomed to the most luxurious scents were thoroughly captivated by this minimalist, restrained aroma imbued with Eastern philosophical contemplation. They described it as a poem written for the soul. Without any commercial promotion, Zhuang became a coveted work of art purely by word of mouth. Soon, top international luxury brands extended olive branches, hoping to acquire the formula for Zhuang or invite me to serve as their chief perfumer. I declined them all. With the first income from Zhuang, I rented a small storefront on a quiet old street and established my independent perfume studio, naming it Jean Ember. From the ashes, I reignited my own flame. On the opening day, there was no ribbon cutting, no guests, only myself. I crafted a fragrance for myself using orange blossom, bergamot, and white tea, fresh and bright, which I named Beginning. The business at the studio exceeded my expectations. Many came in search of Zhuang, but I limited the supply each month. I understood that once art devolves into a mass-produced commodity, it loses its soul. My life finally fell into a tranquil and fulfilling rhythm. I believed that my entanglement with the Jiang family had reached a conclusion. Until that day, when my brother Jiang Qiming appeared at the door of my studio, arm in arm with Shen Wanxing. He donned a finely tailored black suit and polished shoes, exuding an imposing presence that starkly contrasted with my humble establishment. He surveyed everything within my shop with the scrutinizing gaze of a territorial king. "Jiang Jin, you've truly made something of yourself," he remarked, his tone laced with the familiar, acerbic superiority. "How does it feel to run this little shop in such a corner? Particularly fulfilling, I presume?" I ignored him, my gaze resting on Shen Wanxing, who wore a deep gray cashmere coat. Though her face appeared somewhat weary, her eyes remained warm as they met mine. "Jean, congratulations," she said. "Are you here for something?" I asked flatly. My brother scoffed, retrieving a gilded invitation from his assistant's briefcase and tossing it onto my workbench. "The launch of Jiang Group's high-end fragrance brand King. Next Wednesday." He lifted his chin like a proud lion. "Our flagship product, Crown, has enlisted 2 Nobel Prize-winning chemists as advisors, employing the world's most advanced synthetic fragrance technology to accurately replicate the dopamine scent released by the brain when experiencing power and victory. Oh, and by the way," he suddenly recalled, a malicious smile creeping onto his lips, "the launch will be held at the same hotel where you once hosted your engagement banquet, Sky Garden. You should remember the way there, right? Jiang Jin, I want you to witness firsthand what a true business looks like, what truly merits recognition. Your little jars and bottles, in the face of absolute capital and technology, are utterly insignificant." I stared at the invitation, then back at him. I suddenly felt a tinge of pity for him. Even now, he continued to measure me by his own standards, attempting to crush me. I calmly accepted the invitation. "Fine, I will attend. I am curious to see how far a fragrance built on wealth and power can truly go." The launch of the Jiang Group's King brand was orchestrated by my brother like a coronation ceremony. Crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, and a flurry of fashionable attendees filled the air with a potent, metallic scent of aggression. That was Crown. It indeed smelled of success, reminiscent of freshly printed banknotes, blended with expensive leather and the chill of champagne bubbles. It was precise, assertive, and unapologetically ambitious, much like my brother himself. Dressed in a simple black suit, I quietly stood in a corner, feeling like an outsider at this grand festivity. I did not wears Wang. Today, I chose to don the initial and only monologue. Within it lay 20 years of repression, discontent, grievance, and a resolute determination to forge ahead. This is my story, my declaration of war. My brother, Jiang Qiming, stood at the center of the stage, resplendent in a dazzling white suit, radiating brilliance. The fragrance enveloping him served as the most efficient social calling card and the most intangible emblem of power. Grasping the microphone, his voice resonated with an unwavering confidence that suggested he had dominion over all. The crown was not merely a fragrance. It was a proclamation, a weapon. It would ensure that the moment one entered any room, they would instantly become the unequivocal focal point. The audience erupted into thunderous applause. I spotted my parents seated in the front row, their faces unmistakably adorned with pride and satisfaction. My brother's gaze swept across the crowd, ultimately landing on me with precision. He offered me a victorious smile, silently conveying, "You have lost." At that moment, a voice broke through beside me. The scent was utterly suffocating. I turned to see an elderly French gentleman, his hair a stark white, grimacing as he pinched his nose. I recognized him.
Roland Duchamp.
The world's most esteemed perfume critic, notorious for his acerbic wit and discerning palate. What was he doing here? He seemed to have noticed me, or rather, the fragrance I wore. He leaned in closer, closed his eyes, and inhaled deeply. "Orris root patchouli, and is that ink?" His eyes snapped open, filled with incredulous delight. My word, this scent resembles a suppressed narrative poem, telling a story. Who is the creator of this masterpiece? All attention remained fixated on the stage, oblivious to the whispers in our corner. Just as I was about to speak, Shen Wanxing appeared beside us, a subtle smile gracing her lips as she addressed Monsieur Duchamp. "Allow me to introduce you. This is the creator of monologue, Mr. Jiang Jin." My brother's smile on stage instantly froze. Roland Duchamp's presence was akin to a stone cast into a tranquil lake, sending ripples of commotion throughout. He disregarded my brother's grandiose discourse on AI big data and dopamine simulation, instead seizing my arm and enthusiastically discussing the structure of monologue as if he had discovered a new continent. Was that nearly imperceptible animalic essence in the base notes ambergris? No, that is not quite right. It's warmer, more intimate to the skin. He gazed at me with excitement, exclaiming, "Sir, You are a genius. You are crafting poetry with fragrance. The surrounding guests, particularly those well-versed in the art of perfume, gradually gravitated towards us, drawn by the commotion. They caught a whiff of monologue. In stark contrast to the crown's overpowering, singular, and forceful scent of authority, the complexity, depth, and narrative of monologue emerged like a crystalline spring, capturing the noses and souls of all present. One person, then two, and soon a growing number of individuals gathered around us, murmuring in hushed tones. This scent is so distinctive, so serene, yet it has a profound impact indeed. While the crown induced headaches after prolonged exposure, this scent stirred emotions deep enough to provoke tears. This is the true art of perfumery. Though the spotlight remained on the stage, I had become the new center of attention. Jiang Qiming's face drained of color, inch by inch. His meticulously orchestrated coronation, his prideful crown, had transformed into a colossal, hollow jest before my monologue. He finally lost control. He stormed off the stage, forcibly parting the crowd, glaring at me with bloodshot eyes. Jiang Jin, you did this on purpose. You wanted to disrupt. I regarded him calmly. Brother, did you not say you would show me what true business looks like? I surveyed the room, where those who once flocked to him were now observing us with intrigue and amusement. Look, everyone is here, I remarked. Isn't this the finest stage? He trembled with rage. Shun Wanqing stepped forward, discreetly placing herself behind me. She addressed Jiang Qiming, saying, Qiming, the essence of business is the product. Your product has failed to persuade the consumers. Shun Wanqing, whose side are you on? My brother was utterly unraveling. Do not forget, you are my fiancé. Shun Wanqing's expression remained inscrutable. She produced a velvet box from her handbag, opening it before all and then slowly closing it again. Inside lay a dazzling diamond ring. Our engagement was merely a commercial alliance between our two companies. She turned her gaze to my brother, her tone chillingly calm yet nearly cruel. However, the Jiang Group's conduct, and your family's intolerant nature towards genuine artists, leads me to harbor serious doubts about this alliance. She paused, her eyes shifting to me, imbued with an unprecedented tenderness and resolve. I do not believe it can create anything truly magnificent. Therefore, the engagement is hereby annulled. With that, she placed the box back into my brother's hand, and amidst the stunned silence of the crowd, she grasped my hand. We are leaving. My brother stood, transfixed by the ring box in his palm, then glanced at our intertwined hands, and finally at the faces of the guests, which bore unmistakable sympathy and mockery. In that moment, the crown he had constructed from wealth and power shattered into irreparable fragments. I followed Shun Wanqing out of the banquet hall, with my parents' furious questions and my brother's unrestrained, frantic howls echoing behind me. I did not look back once. That press conference became the laughingstock of the industry. The Jiang Group's King brand, having launched with great fanfare, witnessed a dramatic plummet in stock prices. It was rumored that my brother was relieved of all duties by the board and sent abroad for rehabilitation. Meanwhile, my monologue was featured by Roland Duchamp in his annual fragrance review column, titled Silent Verses and Noisy Shells. My studio, Jean, achieved overnight fame, with orders flooding in like snowflakes. Yet I remained steadfast in my approach, limited, bespoke, preserving the soul of each fragrance. On a sunlit afternoon, Shun Wanqing visited my studio. I was in the midst of crafting a new fragrance, incorporating abundant citrus, white florals, and the essence of a gentle breeze. What are you working on? She asked, wrapping her arms around my waist from behind, resting her chin lightly on my shoulder. Creating a new piece, I replied, picking up a scent strip and offering it to her. What do you think? She closed her eyes and after a moment, smiled. It's bright and joyful, like the first ray of sunlight after rain. What's its name? She inquired. I turned to meet her gaze, seriousness enveloping me as I declared, it is called us. Our story is not a monologue in need of salvation, nor a conspiracy of mutual exploitation. It is something entirely new, radiant, and a shared beginning that belongs solely to us. The end. Thank you for listening. We shall meet again in the next story.